Awesome, we're underway. Everybody, sitting here talking across the ditch with Keegan Smith, founder of the Real Movement Project. Absolute epic dude. If you're not following him on Instagram, you are missing out. I've been following Keegan since 2013. I think he was with the Roosters then, came across him through Sonny Bill Williams. And every day this guy inspires me to do more, get off my ass. First question for you there, Keegan. How would you describe yourself today, mate?
Today, I don't know. Today I'm great. Today I'm, father of 2 children, husband to a beautiful wife, and I've spent the morning talking to amazing people who want to be a part of the Real Movement Project. Life is good, and today that's who I am.
Fantastic. And whereabouts are you talking to us from right now?
We're in the guest accommodation at our house. We live on a little farm not too far from Byron Bay or the Gold Coast. For those who are familiar with Oz, there's a lot of Kiwis over here, so I'm sure everyone knows. Everyone's got a brother or a cousin here somewhere. So we've got a little farm out here. We've got 6 acres. We've got 2 little guest accommodation. It's an old bed and breakfast and a 100-year-old Queenslander. So it's one of the original properties sort of for the area. It was based for the dairy. And moved here with my family earlier in the year. So that's pretty much where we are.
Fantastic. And before we go a bit more into who you've become, can you tell us about where you've come from? What was 5-year-old Keegan Smith like?
5-year-old, he was writing backwards because he was left-handed, and it didn't just seem to come down on the paper the same as everyone else was. He was fascinated with the girl who knew the left hand from the right hand when he didn't yet. I remember everyone had new school shoes, and they smelt that leather new school shoes thing. I just moved to England actually at 5 as well. So we uprooted. I started school in Australia, and then we uprooted to England. Lived there for 2.5 years. And I remember that being a massive shift. Everybody laughing at my accent because I didn't speak like them. But there's probably a lot about me that was the same as it is now too.
Nice. How do you think that move shaped you as a person, bro?
Yeah, I think moving around a fair bit as a kid, had a big impact on me. Like we lived there for 2.5 years. We came back to Australia, lived for another 4 years or so, and then moved back to England again. So I think moving around at schools, then we moved schools twice, both times when we were in England. So I think like all those moves as a kid probably meant that I learned how to deal with that environment of going in with new people and kind of surviving that. I was pretty shy then as a kid, and I don't know. It wasn't an easy thing, and I never really wanted to uproot and go again. And I think that it also means that I sort of know that I'm going to be able to find friends wherever I go to, and I'm not really good at collecting them from the past. So, I've had lots of really good friends who I met when I was living in Mexico or living in Colombia or in England, or, players from the Roosters even, or staff there. And I think I just move on from things a little bit because I did that a lot as a kid. That's a guess anyway. Maybe that's just who I was going to be anyway. But I'm glad that I got the chance to travel a bit as a kid. Probably helped me with languages as well, even though it was still in English. I do have, I think, a reasonable faculty for hearing and pronouncing languages. And that sort of helped me later in life with travels as well. And I think that was something else that maybe came out of being semi-nomadic as a youngster.
Awesome. So you said you're left-handed. I see you.
Straight though. I don't know if you know that stuff on left-handed gays being the most creative people in the world. Male left-handed gays are, in general, much more creative than right-handed straight males are the least creative. And then women come next after that, and then it goes back to left-handed men, and then the homosexual left-handed men are meant to be the most creative, according to the research. Leonardo da Vinci's brain, the neuroscience book written about him, really interesting stuff for those who are interested in understanding a bit more about themselves and how we all get wired up. But what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm on the least creative, so that's why I'm try to do things like this and boost my creativity and try and develop those other sides of my brain. What I was going to get to, speaking of developing other sides of your brain, as a
Yeah.
left-handed person, and you're keen on juggling, what do you think is the sort of, why does it force you to be creative being left-handed, and to how does juggling fit into left and right handedness, mate, and left and right sides of the brain?
Yeah, so apparently Leonardo and Michelangelo were ambidextrous, and there's sort of examples like Michael Jordan, they sort of classify as ambidextrous, and there's a long list of sort of successful athletes and really creative people. Ido Portal, who's been a massive influence on me, is really big on practicing everything equally from both sides. I think he's right-handed. I think he's straight, but I don't know either of those things. I haven't asked him. Yeah, probably. I would assume that he is, but they work really hard on going at things from left and right side, and I think that there's something to it. I think that you can develop a lot more. Yeah, you can develop skills into greater detail. And I know Michael Jordan was big on shooting with the opposite hand, not because he was going to do it a lot in the games, but because he felt like it had a learning effect for the opposite side. And you can see that with juggling for sure. Like, you get better at one side and the other side automatically improves. So there is a crossover between those things. The synchronization, left and right brain, corpus callosum, density of the corpus callosum, these are things that studies have shown that juggling improves and increases. So I think whatever we're doing that, we're probably doing a good thing. Juggling is the thing that is best researched, as far as I can see, for developing white matter, grey matter, and left-right brain connection. I don't know if I have it any easier. I think because I have this big crew of coaches that I'm working with, I think I probably learn a little bit slower than most of the guys on average. I'm just pretty persistent and determined. So I'm second in the pecking order as far as the juggling goes, but I'm near the top in most stuff. I think just because I like, I work hard and I want to inspire those guys. I know that my performance is a big limitation on them, so I don't think I have any special advantage with it, but I think that's part of what it's doing for me, as well as developing the field of vision. And now getting onto 5-ball juggling, you can really see that, like, there's a higher level of brain function that's kind of unconscious, that is the key to sporting performance, that doesn't necessarily get trained as densely as it could through team practice. So, I think there is that underpinning capacity of hand-eye coordination, of foot-eye coordination. Probably good stuff for your hip rehab as well. I might send you over a hacky sack.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do like more of the traditional hacky sack stuff and you're definitely forcing internal and external rotation of the hip, as well as balancing on the other side. And I'm still definitely a beginner with the hacky, but I can see how it may prevent me going down the path of my father with hip replacement. He was in chronic pain at my age, so far so good for me. And I'd like to avoid that, and maybe hacky sack will be one of the things that help me to avoid that hip replacement. Also, I didn't ride horses from like 4 years old, like my dad did, all through his childhood and teens. So maybe I'm not predisposed because I didn't do that as well.
Nice. So I'm at the 3-ball stage.
Yep.
What are the key steps to then moving up to a 4-ball, and what are you finding the most challenging for nailing that 5-ball?
So 3-ball to 4-ball, are you really smooth with your 3-ball?
Reasonably, yeah.
Yeah.
And with
Can you do
different
2-ball
shapes.
in left hand and right hand?
Better on my right hand, yeah.
Yeah. So you need your 2-ball to be really automatic in both hands. So doing your 2-ball, but building in some chaos into it, building some more challenge into it. So you can like cut it with the other hand. So as you're throwing this one, you're cutting with the other hand, or be going from inside to outside, outside to inside, front to back, and then back to front, overhead. Once that 2-ball is really locked in on your non-dominant side, then we go to 2+1. So right for right, left, right, right, left, right. And so when you get that 2+1 down, then your 4-ball will be sweet. It's not generally that massive a journey for like rugby guys and people who've played a lot of sports as a kid. Some people, it's a really, really long journey to get that 3-ball down. just because they didn't develop that stuff, and just shows how powerful a tool it is, because it's really remodeling the brain. But even if you get 3-ball pretty easily, which a lot of guys who've done a lot of ball sports do, 5-ball is a whole different ball game. So it's been harder than I thought it would be. Like, I've been working really hard and consistent on it every day, doing some work on it for probably, I'd say, more than 6 months now. I had 4-ball locked in for a while before that, but it's not easy. So probably averaging around about 12 throws from the right hand, 10 to 12 throws. My record's 27, and basically that means it's double. So it's like 54 throws, and that was 14 and a half seconds, and the target's 15 seconds. So I don't think I've achieved the 15-second target, which is the real movement level 3 juggling target, which is arbitrary, but just something to tell people, hey, go further, don't stop at 3-ball. I think I will have it locked in where I can hold it consistently. I've been to a juggling circus just recently. I went to one at Mullumbimby, just not too far from here, and there were guys doing 5-ball juggling like as if it was easier than what I find 3-ball juggling, which I can pretty much do having a conversation, not watching the balls, whatever. Like, those guys are at that level with 5-ball, so it can be done. It'll just be interesting how long it takes my brain to upgrade itself to be able to do 5-ball simply and have it completely under control.
Nice, mate. So one of the things you have with Real Movement Project is you guys are always testing yourselves. How do you personally go about attacking a new skill?
Just get into it. Just start. I think I always research, but the main thing is starting. Like, it's once you've started, that's half the battle. So get the barriers out of the way. Like, if you want to juggle, then have juggling balls or have tennis balls, and to eliminate the kids took my juggling balls. Like, I've got like 50. So they're always there's 5 laying around in all different spots, and that means that you're much more likely to use them. So I think shaping the environment is a powerful and important thing. Knowing that other people are working on the same path and that you're going to catch up with them again. We have these periodic, get-togethers, intensives and whatnot, and I think that is a big part of it. I think that's it, man. Just start and just have a target of being consistent, and then work it out along the way. Like, I do generally look for the best methods and try to work with the best people. I've been working pretty hard on Polish, or at least I did before we went to Europe. And I was using I've used Michelle Thomas in the past. So first I used Pimsleur language, and then I used Michelle Thomas, and then I used Duolingo. And then lastly, I've been using Memrise. And so I've been moving from different systems because I think that I've been finding better systems. Although I think Michelle Thomas and Duolingo and Memrise together is probably the best combination. So always trying to learn, try and be efficient with the learning, but mostly know that it's going to take time. And if you're just doing your best every time that you're practicing, then, that's the key to getting better. Persistence and trying your best. 100% will, you get there eventually.
Nice, mate. Now, it's quite interesting. Our last podcast, we spoke with Cliff Harvey, who had quite a shaping experience in South America, and it's funny to hear you also had time in South America. What was your sort of motivation for going there, and how did that shape you?
Yes, so I was living in London, and I think it was actually going to nightclubs and meeting people from, Bolivia and Chile and, Brazil, and just thinking I wonder what it's like where they're from. So many people that I met there, spoke 1, 2, 3 other languages other than their mother tongue. And I just thought, I've had 15 years of formal education and I only speak one language. This is an ignorant thing. And sort of the Anglophile culture was something that I was not sure if I wanted to be a part of and fit into. So, that was basically the motivation. I started learning Spanish. I was reading I read a lot of Che Guevara. I looked into a lot of the lyrics of Rage Against the Machine and sort of where the where the roots of all that were. And I just, basically I started learning, was reading that stuff. I hadn't made any solid plans, but I just started, sort of learning on my own time while I was working with the London Broncos in strength and conditioning. And then I decided to go back to Australia and have one last go at hockey, because the dream was to play hockey in the Olympics. So I went back and had one last sort of crack at that. But just when it was coming time to play in national championships, I sort of felt like, no, this is not where I'm meant to be. So at like 21, bought a round the world ticket and went to Latin America. And I ended up spending 3 years over there in 3 different stints. So it had a big impact on my life, and I'm really glad for the time that I spent over there, learning Spanish, but learning a lot about how the world works, and who I am, and all that stuff is a big part of now of what real movement is about. It's all that was a highly formational sort of time in my life, for sure.
In those early days of traveling before real movement's giving you this worldwide community, what was sort of the sustainable ways of being in a country and living in a country and looking after yourself, I guess?
So I think the first time I had maybe $10,000 saved, and I got a round the world ticket. And actually, when I was about to leave to go for 4 months in Southeast Asia, a friend contacted me and says, "Why don't you come and play hockey in Germany?" And it had always sort of been on my list of things to do that I wrote in my early teens. One of the things was, play hockey in Europe. So I played a little bit in England, but I said I was going to play in Holland. So next best was playing in Germany. So played there, and that sort of saved me a little bit of money. And they paid for my flights and gave me a little bit of money. And then, I did a lot of couch surfing. I highly recommend couch surfing if there's any young backpacker explorers out there, and even older ones. I used it a lot to staying at other people's places, and I also have hosted a lot of people with it. It's basically like Airbnb, but free. It's more of a cultural exchange thing. So that was that cut the bills. I hitchhiked a lot. That cut the bills. I traveled from Colombia to Mexico on $150. That was including a $60 flight as well, and a boat from Colombia to Panama. So basically slept under a bunch of trucks and random people that I met on the side of the road, and got to Mexico by land. I think it was about 8-10 days. There's always a way if there's a will. I don't think it was necessarily the safest way to travel, but that wasn't really the priority at that time. It was about exploration, and sort of I wanted to explore the idea that there's bad people out there as well. You hear about bad people, and traveling through Latin America, like, people are happy to tell you about all the bad people there are, because there's a lot of hectic stuff that has happened there in civil wars and the conflicts that go on. But I didn't meet them. I was kind of putting myself at the whim of the world, and I didn't meet them. So did that way. I taught English in Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador. So that was a way that sort of paid for me to live while I was staying there. I worked at an orphanage in Guatemala. Again, that was basically, I was spending money, but not heaps. What else did I do to save money? That was probably most of it. And then I came back to Australia in between a couple of times, and saved a little bit of money the first time. Went back, came back and worked. I think the second time I had like 25,000 or something when I left, and I really wanted to go for good. I worked as a community worker in an Indigenous community in the centre of Australia, so like a youth worker with Mission Australia. I did that for maybe 8 months in Yankunytjatjara lands in Fink, Apachula, which is a couple of hours from Alice Springs. So I saved a bunch of money there, and then wanted to move to Latin America permanently. That was my third time over there, and I was like, I'm going to find a place to live this time. So again, I worked with a few organizations in Mexico, and then taught English in Ecuador for 3 months, and then that by that time it had been about 18 months, and I decided that it wasn't the place for me after some nasty events over there. I was involved in some political movements and stuff, so there's still a lot of tension in that sort of scene over there. So there were some rough events, and basically I decided that was it for the Latin American adventure. I moved back to, well, first I went to Spain, but that's a whole other story. Moved back to Australia and decided I'm going to get back into health and wellness, personal training, something like this. I need to start looking after myself because I've been kind of deteriorating physically and probably mentally a bit as well. I needed to sort of get some steadiness in my life, get a base, rebuild myself. So I decided I would set up base in Australia, and then 2 weeks later, I got a job in France, working full-time in strength and conditioning. So, after sort of 6 years on the road and basically being a nomad 21 to 27, I went back into strength and conditioning with the Catalan Dragons in France. So that's pretty much how the Latin American stuff went down and how I budgeted it out.
Nice. So what stage of sort of physical health and things were you at in Australia, and then moving to train people? Were you in a strong position or just had the knowledge?
I was fairly weak. I'm still not a super strong guy in comparison to the strong men of the world. But yeah, I was in a pretty bad state. I had sort of chronic fatigue like symptoms. I had infections that wouldn't go away, and when I trained, I'd get a headache, and I'd spend a lot of time in dark, quiet rooms because I just wasn't recovering from what I was doing. So that pretty much encouraged me to throw myself fully into learning about health and wellness. And yeah, I wanted to be a good role model to the guys in France. Like I really believe in that. So I worked hard on my training, and I believed deeply in what I was doing, and trying to help those guys, to go to another level. And yeah, somehow the team had come last the year before. We had a big change in roster, and new head coach came in with me. And yeah, we came fourth, made the finals both years, and held down first spot for a while in the second year. So that was kind of the platform to get, the opportunity to move back into the NRL. But I don't know how much I was leading from the front, how much I just wanted, I think I'm a passionate guy and I can be fairly convincing, and the guys shifted enough behaviors enough to be able to have a big turnaround in the team, and that's what we wanted.
Great. What sort of do you think is a key fundamental of a successful team, like in rugby league or like in hockey?
I don't know, man. That's $1 million question. There's a lot to it for sure. I know for sure that in rugby, in rugby league, you can get an advantage in strength and conditioning. The amount that players changed mentally and physically during the time that I worked with those guys. Like it was cool to see. A head coach, like I worked under Trent Robinson for the 4 years, and he was just really, really constant, very determined. Ruthless is probably too strong a word, but somewhere close to that. He just kept things on track and really drove the same points with a lot of consistency for a long time. And I think he played a huge role in the success that I was able to participate in. Guys like Sonny Bill, we had Anthony Michello and Sonny Bill who were super professional, and I think that really influenced young guys like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and these guys. They came into a culture where you didn't have to be a hard drinker to be one of the crew, which I know Sonny didn't have that when he started, but we had that at the Roosters, and I think that we shifted a lot of that stuff for a period of time, and guys made a move in terms of how they're looking after themselves. And when you're doing things that other people can't or won't do, you build more belief. And I think we knew we were doing a lot of things that the other teams weren't doing, and we as a result we had another level of belief. And I think that belief is a massive part of it. So I actually do have a formula for success. So the definition for success that I use is success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It's from Earl Nightingale. So making happen what is your most worthy goal, to put it in other words. And then to actually make that happen, I believe it comes down to belief, imagination,
practice, genetic potential, and then that's all multiplied by your environment. So belief is a massive one. Is there a feeling here that we can do something special? You've got to cultivate that, something that grows amongst the group through experiences as well. I think confidence comes from experience. My little boy is not yet walking. He has no confidence to walk. Every time I make him stand up, he's 9 months old, make him stand up, you can tell he's not confident that he's going to be able to balance there. And that confidence is based on experience that every time he tries, he falls down. But to crawl or to roll over is not even a challenge for him. He has 100% confidence and belief that he can do those things. So I think that, the idea of, I'm just not confident, you just haven't built the experiences yet. So giving them experiences to be able to have, higher level of confidence and belief is key. Imagination is basically like, what's your vision? What would you like to see happen? And that's can be your goal as well. But, a lot of people stifle their imagination and they don't open up to what they could possibly achieve. Practice, it's another way to say grit or resilience. Like you might see that pop up in other success formulas. But I think practice is a better way to put it because it doesn't have the hard connotation of grit or perseverance, which is almost like you're doing something that you don't like, where practice is generally, it should be something that you love, and then you still put so much effort into it that eventually it takes you somewhere special. Potential is a factor as well. Like I'm never going to be a 7 foot, basketball player. It's just, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to run the 100 in under 10. So there's some things that, you can't do, some things that I won't do and that people can't do. Based on the cards they're being dealt. But the environmental factor is much more important and, the one that we should focus on most. So environment is the multiplier of all that stuff. If you're in an environment, if you're born into a millionaire family, chances are that you're going to become a millionaire. You just expect to have, that kind of job and you expect to put some money away and invest and that, because that's just what everybody does. Whereas if you grow up in a sporting family, then I'm an example. My father's a 30-year NRL coach. My brother's an NRL coach. My uncle is a NRL and Super League, coach. So, I didn't go down the path of technical coaching for rugby league. I didn't really play it that much. I did well with it when I did it at hockey. I coached a bunch of hockey teams, and now I coach a bunch of coaches who run businesses and coach other people to improve physical performance. So, that environment thing is a super powerful factor, and you don't get to choose your environment up until 18 or 16 or whatever for most people. But when you do get to choose it, it's super important that you get people in there that are going to bring you up and open up another world of possibility. Fantastic, and it's funny how things sort of act on you over and over again. I heard that quote about success yesterday, so it's quite cool to hear it 2 days in a row from two different people. You speak about environment and the people who surround you, and you're surrounded by a lot of driven people and a lot of people that are trying to achieve stuff that look up to you and I'm sure give you a lot. Who is it that you sort of look up to, and who mentors you to raise your bar even further and keep the team that you've got around you moving forward as well? What sort of people do that for you?
Yeah, I think the most important is actually the team itself. Like the people that I work with there in Real Movement Project, like they're my biggest motivators. We're trying to solve a problem together. And initially it was like me versus the world, but gradually more and more it's like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get it done? And we have a group of staff now, and we have, facility owners that are equally invested in Real Movement. Like they're invested financially, but they're invested in their lives, their futures. So I think that's the most important group. But then in terms of guys who've sort of gone way ahead, I went and spent 6 days in Hawaii with Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor is he's from The Secret. Is where most people have seen him. I would probably credit him with why I'm not still in the NRL. He was, asking me questions via a free audio program that I downloaded. How do you want to live your life and what should it look like, and explaining, laws of the universe. And that just got me thinking and just got me questioning, how do I actually want to live? Like, without thinking, this is all I'm capable of, or these are my limitations. Like, if I was infinitely capable, what would I do? And so, gradually I I did one of like his educational program to be like an instructor in his method, and then I went to his 1% meeting in Hawaii. So there was a lot of really wealthy people there. It's the biggest investment I've made in myself, and yeah, it was formational. You know, he told me like the path that you're on is a path of self-destruction, and you know you need to build a team. You need to work with other people to make this happen, or it's not going to happen, and you're just going to make yourself really unhappy in the process. So yeah, at that stage I was pretty much a one-man band. I had Keto Business and then Real Movement Project. I had different guys in the team at different times, but at that stage I was pretty much on my own. And I think at the moment we've got like 10 people on the team, you know, who are on our staff, and then there's sort of other guys who are closer than they used to be that are participating more as well. So invaluable to go and do that. I got to spend a bit of time with Mark Burris. He sort of mentored me for a little while there, and just having a few conversations with him was really impactful. I still sort of listen to his podcast and stuff. Don't know if you're familiar with him. He's one of the directors at the Roosters, and is the owner of Yellow Brick Road. He did own Wizard Finance, I think. So if you look up on Wikipedia what that sold for, he's done all right.
He's a businessman, is that right?
Hey?
He's a businessman, is that right?
Yeah, businessman, but loves his boxing. And I went down recently to just do a session with him in Sydney and talk to him about how he's going with that. So I'm not actually sure how old he is, but he's definitely not at an age where you would normally be thinking about boxing. So super inspirational from that point of view of just like not giving up and taking on new challenges. And yeah, he has a go at everything, and he makes you feel like you're just sitting on your hands doing absolutely nothing, regardless of how hard you're trying to, go forward in life. But hopefully by the time I reach his age, I might be in a similar position in some ways.
Is he doing boxing in terms of contact or in terms of...
Yeah, he fought Danny Green, who's like one of Australia's best boxers, in a charity fight. But yeah, Danny Green, like he busted him up a little bit as well. He didn't get knocked out, but Mark copped a few good ones there. And yeah, he's had amateur fights against guys a lot younger than him. So yeah, he's a wealthy guy, and he's still taking on a lot of those kind of challenges that, he doesn't probably need to, but he just wants to, and he's just staying alive and keeping his life interesting. So he can fight. He's been fighting since he was a kid, and he's stuck at it. Like he's not a mug. He loves it. He loves watching the fight game and all that sort of stuff as well. So he's had a tight connection over the time with Danny Green, I think, at some different stages. But yeah, he's interesting guy, and definitely one that I draw inspiration from. Heaps of guys in the fitness field, like doing the internship with Ido Portal in 2013. Straight after we won the grand final 2013, the next day, Nomad Monday for me, I was straight on the plane to Thailand, and the 5-day, 6-day event, whatever it was, started with him straight after that. So I didn't know we were going to make the grand final when I committed to it, and then it turned out it was straight after the grand final. So we had a big run into the playoffs to win the minor premiership, and then we ended up actually winning the whole thing, which wasn't thought likely at the start of the year. We weren't even predicted to make the finals, so it was pleasant surprise. And my bonus for winning the grand final went straight to Ido. But that was a great investment too, and he's a very special human that's had a big influence on me. I've probably done 12 days or so of education with him, and hopefully there'll be more opportunities to do that in the future. Charles Poliquin, even Coach Summer, I did a bunch of education stuff with, and I don't probably follow all of them the same way as I once did, but they played a key role. But I could go on for a long time about strength and conditioning coaches who've sort of helped on my journey as well.
Nice. Well, we've got you at the 2013 Roosters. Sonny Bill Williams, it seems that any team he's in does well, and in a lot of cases wins. In New Zealand, unfortunately, gets a lot of stick, and I think it's misplaced, and a lot of what's quite embarrassing about our country, and that we're very much a tall poppy syndrome, knock anybody down that's above your country. But knowing him personally, and he's so personally that he wants to come and train with you in his off season. What is it about Sonny that makes him special as an athlete and as in a team?
Yeah, I think he's doing all of those things, that I spoke about before for success. He came to Byron the day after my son was born, my first son, my second child. Manu Jesus was born on Christmas Day, and Sonny arrived on Boxing Day and stayed for a couple of weeks. And we did a training camp, and I didn't know what I was gonna, what could I contribute to Sonny Bill Williams. We'd had a good run there together at the Roosters, and I know, he shifted some things during that time, and they made a difference to him. But I didn't know, what I was going to do this time. I thought I'd showed him pretty much what I had to show. But yeah, no, we had a special time again. I think like his willingness to be a student, to just learn and to practice the challenges that are set in front of him. Like he loves a challenge, and he wants to do well in it, but he won't shy away from not doing it because he knows he's not good at it yet. I think that's a big difference between him and most people, and probably me too. Like there's a reluctance for people to jump into something that they know they're not going to be good at. But Sonny was, he was all over doing the juggling and the foot skills, and if he had been able to get on the trampoline with Quade Cooper and the boys, he would have for sure. He was in his rehab for the Achilles, but his willingness and readiness to learn and to develop is phenomenal. I think he's cultivating belief and confidence, through action and through everything he can do mentally to do that, which makes him special. I think he's got super high emotional intelligence as well. Sometimes, he would speak negatively about his own intelligence because he probably didn't have massive book smarts. But he's a guy who can go for dinner with, Mark Burris or, the owners of a club and feel, really comfortable and entertain everybody and participate. Or he could go to dinner with me, or he could go to dinner with the Islander boys. And in any crew, he can fit in and, have an influence and have everybody, a warm connection with everybody. I think that's a very special thing as well, why teams have done well that he's been a part of. I think, he's very infectious with that. And I haven't seen anyone work as hard to be professional and still actually want to influence the other guys and support the other guys. There's guys who really look after themselves well, but then they have trouble sort of transferring it, or, they end up becoming more selfish than he is. There is that element of, looking after yourself that has to be there to do what he's done. But, I know he had a massive influence on the whole team culture. And yeah, it was an exciting opportunity to spend time with him again in a different environment. And yeah, I look forward to doing that again sometime soon.
Nice, mate. You speak about the side not drinking, and you've written a blog about this culture of prescribing for athletes, getting them through to the next week with a quick fix, and then yourself as well, examining your own personal health and improving on your personal health. In your blog, you touched on a hell of a movie, which after reading that, I went and watched Prescription Thugs, and you hear Joe Rogan talking about this problem. Do you think that's an epidemic in sport, and do you think it's holding a lot of players back?
Yeah, 100%. Like it's a crime. It's a crime against humanity. It's not just in sport. It's opioid addiction in the US is killing 150 plus people a day. That's just opioids. That's not all the other stuff. It's a vicious circle. Sleepers, antidepressants, painkillers. Like it's wrong. It doesn't need to be that way. It needs to change. All the anti-inflams even are part of the picture. Antibiotics are part of the picture. The overprescription of all these things is I think it's cutting years off guys' careers, probably years off their lives. And yeah, there's too many players suiciding. There's too much stuff happening that just doesn't need to happen. If we shifted to a more holistic approach, that it just doesn't need to be that way. And we saw the usage of all that stuff decrease massively across the team. Like we weren't angels. It wasn't like no one was drinking and probably those issues exist under the carpet, but from what they had been and what I know they are at a lot of places, and when players told me about what they've been doing in the past, it's just wrong. Like you shouldn't be a drug addict, just turned out every weekend to play for a team, but being dependent on those things and using sleepers with alcohol, routinely and this stuff, like. There are issues for society. People will demonize professional athletes, like, oh, why would they do that when they're getting paid so much money and they've got this dream opportunity? But they're humans too, and whatever's going on in society is going to be going on in sport. But on the pharmaceutical side, they're definitely pushed into it, encouraged into it, fall into it by team doctors and just by the norms in sport. Team doctors fall in with what other team doctors do. That's the role they get to play. They get to be the drug dealer, and the drug dealers are, they're a sought after guy. There's probably doctors that have a different approach, that are really reserved with it and do good education around this stuff. I haven't come across those guys as yet, and it's a sad state that the sport is in at the moment. And I think steroids are a much lesser issue than is being talked about, and social drugs like marijuana or cocaine or whatever, the scandals around them, like they're not a fraction of the the negative and the concern that I have for athletes in the athletes' well-being compared to those prescription medications. So.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys used less players, less of a roster that season. Is that correct? Just by making a few more healthier choices, holistic choices, I guess.
It's hard to say why we used the least number of players, but as far as I'm aware, that with the NRL stats, we used the least number of players for the season, both years, 2013 and 14. I think that the fact that we're giving the guys organic food for team meals and encouraging them to go more that way, and guys were, the fact that they were drinking less, and we've tried to steer them away from those drug cycles. I think that stuff contributes. I think winning contributes as well. Like I think a winning team, when you have that psychology, you're just much less likely to get injured, and you consciously, subconsciously, you want to be out there. You want to be part of the team, and you want to you don't want to miss out on anything when you're part of a winning culture and a winning club.
I suppose really interesting. And what sort of daily things do you use to keep your well-being up? So you're speaking from a sauna the other night, talking about oil pulling. Speak on those two if you like.
Yeah, there's so many practices that have been used throughout the ages to keep humans well, because if humans weren't well in the past, then their army would get their asses kicked, and the land would be lost, and the women would be slaughtered or taken over or whatever. Like it was life and death. Like when the Romans were taking over Europe and the Basques were able to keep them out, they kept them out because bit of geography, but because they had a warrior culture and because they were able to maintain health. So you got to think back to what life was like and where we'd sort of come from. It's not so far back that if you weren't able to keep yourself really healthy, like you were in deep shit. Like possibly because someone's going to come and take your land and kill you. But even less than that, it's just if you got an infection or whatever, no antibiotics, you get gangrene and you die. Like you get pneumonia, you die. So there was no backup of antibiotics. So there are systems that have gone back a long time to be able to keep humans healthy, and we've just let all that go, and we've replaced it with commercial food and the modern sort of pharmaceutical system, and keeps people alive, but the health span of people is a lot shorter. So people are healthy for a much shorter period of time. Babies are born sick. People are breaking down in their health in their teens, in their 20s, in their 30s, and it's not the way it's meant to be. So looking back at ancient methods is sort of where it starts for me. So yeah, Ayurvedic techniques, sweat lodges and things like this go back a long way in lots of different cultures. In Mexico and Nordic culture, lots of different places, they've used heat, steam to purge, the body. It's one of the body's pathways. So you have transpiration, urination, respiration, and defecation as your four main ways that your body gets stuff out of the body. If you can speed up transpiration, sweating, then you open up the possibility to remove more toxins through that pathway. So any of these natural pathways, if we can accelerate the cleansing of those pathways, then we're going to have room for better health. So the oil pulling is really working directly on the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is like the sewage system of the body. It also holds a lot of the immune system, but when your body clears stuff out of the blood, often it's cleared into the lymph. And so if the lymph is properly being cleared and being cleaned, then it will perform its function as the base for the immune system and keep cellular function and blood nice and clean. But when it becomes overburdened, then all sorts of health issues are the result. And a lot of the modern health issues are related to toxicity. The hypersensitivity, the allergies and stuff, is also related to buildup of toxicity in the body, and the immune system being overly active because of all the junk that is in the system. So the oil pulling is, basically swooshing oil in the mouth, usually coconut oil or sesame oil. Sometimes people will put like oregano oil or something in it, and you just swoosh it in your mouth. Put like a tablespoon of oil in your mouth, swoosh it around for like 5 minutes to up to an hour in Ayurvedic sort of techniques. And then, when you're done, you spit it out, and you're going to be spitting out some junk with it. So, nose breathing is a big one in yoga and in Ayurvedic medicine, and it kind of goes along the same idea. Like through the mouth is there's toxicity there, and it's an area that needs to be cleaned, and then we should be breathing in through the nose because that's where the filters are. It's also a good performance enhancer as well. If you check out Oxygen Advantage, great book about using nose breathing to improve performance. And some of the NRL clubs have made pretty significant investments in incorporating that into their training techniques and stuff as well. AFL clubs and stuff as well. So there's a lot there. There's a lot of techniques. I actually just did the gallbladder and liver flush last night. If you think about it, like they were using these techniques, like that one goes back to sort of Greek roots. These techniques were being used in times before there was even any of these, chemicals that we're pumping into the environment now. No matter where you live, there's planes flying overhead. There's cars buzzing along the road. We're producing and burning plastics and coal and steel and all the things that we're doing, the processes that we're going through. Like everybody is exposed to more toxins than ever before. So 21st century has become survival of the best detoxifiers. And some people naturally have great genetics for it, and they're doing things right environmentally to be able to clean the system. But for most of us, we have a role to play, and you'll get symptoms of toxicity if you have issues with it. You can either try and ignore those symptoms, like if you have bad breath and whatever, then using mouthwash will get rid of that for 10 minutes or an hour or whatever the ads say. But if underlying that, you need to actually clean your lymph, then the mouthwash is not going to do that. Spraying deodorant is not going to help you get more crap out of the pores. If the stuff that's coming out of the body smells really bad, then chances are more stuff needs to come out, not less. So putting things on that block those pathways up. Gradually, we block all those pathways up. We take anti-diarrhea medication. We take anti-vomiting medication. And so every way that the body tries to purge crap out of the body is being blocked. And ultimately, that's when really serious disease comes in. So, we work on this stuff. Like in Real Movement, the members that we work with, like we're teaching them and we're taking them down these paths. A lot of the gyms have infrared saunas. Infrared sauna is powerful for removing heavy metals from the body, more effective than normal sauna. And heavy metal toxicity is very common and plays a key role in lots of different neurological dysfunction, especially mercury in the brain for issues around memory, concentration, anxiety, all that sort of stuff. Things that are super, super common. The heavy metals are actually in a lot of the prescription medications, if not in some of the vaccines that people have been exposed to, fillings and those sorts of things, mercury fillings. We're exposed to way too much, and most of it is coming through interventions where we think we're actually doing something good for ourselves, or helping to overcome a health issue, but we're actually just creating a lot more. So I much prefer going down this path. I haven't been to a conventional doctor. I don't remember the last time, but definitely over 10 years ago. And I just, if I broke my leg, I would, and I'm thankful that modern medicine can do the wonderful things like hip replacements, and sometimes there's a role for that in emergency stuff, and the orthopedics, like the body mechanics, or the carpenters, who can cut and replace bits and pieces. There's value in that, but in terms of the long-term maintenance, the modern medicine has no place to play in long-term health maintenance. If you're thinking about taking something for the rest of your life, you're on the wrong track, whether it's an antidepressant or a diabetes medication or a whatever. There's other solutions. I'm very confident that there's other solutions. You need to be smart. You need to go about it gradually and work with someone who actually wants to help and wants to understand things. But just start by building health as much as you can. Don't even focus on whatever's dysfunctioning. Just try and be as healthy as you can. Eat great food, hang around with great people, exercise, do good things with your body, do good things with your mind, and eventually you might just find that whatever you needed to take stuff for is just disappeared. We don't treat any kind of disease. I don't know much about diseases. I don't know how to label it. I don't know how to scan for it, but I know a lot about health and vitality, and I know that when you do all the things that build health and vitality, eventually there's no place for disease. So that's really the foundation of my belief system, and how I've overcome chronic fatigue and constant health issues that I was challenged with as a kid. Life is better when you're not doing that stuff. It's also better when you're not going to the doctor. In my teens, I went to the doctor, and that led to going to the doctor maybe 15, 20 times over the next 12 months, and my health got worse and worse. And I think a lot of problems came from just going to the doctor for one thing, and then that becomes a whole that became a whole cascade of things. And I know it's not just me that has that story. So something I feel really passionate about. We need to take control of our health, and it's not okay that there's more and more children's hospitals and there's a pharmacy on every second corner. We shouldn't be doing it that way. There's the lineup. There's always a lineup for the bottle shop and a lineup for KFC, and then there's a pharmacy right next to it. So you make the link, but it's not a good way to live. It's a better way to live is to actually cultivate health and do cool stuff with your life, and try and share love and share powerful, positive experiences, rather than trying to hide from your reality with drugs and alcohol and whatever other kinds of addictions that we fall into. And I went through that phase as well. I guarantee it's better on this side.
Absolutely. And just you spoke about with success having a vision. Is this part of the vision of Real Movement? Is it part of the vision with the farm? Do those two tie together quite well, or is it a manifestation of your vision, both those things, or are they slightly different niches for you?
No, for me, it's all one piece. There's no real distinction for me between friends, clients, family, work. It's all one thing. It's just life, and it's all connected. The farm is a place to educate people and to show people how we do things, and just to try and provide an example. I think the best thing you can do is to try and be a powerful role model for what you believe in. So that's why we live on this place. We love it, but we want to show other people that potentially there's another way to do this. I think you're on the same path sooner or later, maybe already, but
not quite.
We got in the background there, don't you?
That's part of the plan, and writing it down every day, that vision. No,
it makes a big difference. And this was a very long way away when I was living off less than $10,000 a year, sleeping on floors in Latin America, to to own land in Australia just seemed ridiculously unlikely at that stage. You know, with the income that I'd earned over the previous 5-6 years, I probably earn that some days now. It's crazy to think how much things have changed, but I'm really grateful for it. I know it's changed because I've been moving towards it. Whatever I've really focused on has happened, even during those traveling times. Like, I wanted to have enough to be able to do that, and that's what happened. And now I want to have a bigger impact. I want to be able to show things better. So this is what we're doing now. So yeah, there's renovations going on at the farm at the moment. I love having guests here, and we've got a lot of work to do with the gym and with all the land and what we want to do with it. But I know that it's going to become a powerful model for what's possible with a little 5-acre block in terms of organic farming and integrated training and as an education centre. So I'm excited for what's going to happen with this place, and it really is bought to serve real movement and also the base for my family. Like, there's no real distinction in those things for me. The vision and stuff, like, I think it is really a common shared vision. Like, I've spoken to 3 people today who've joined Real Movement Project, coaches. I haven't actually been doing those calls for ages, and it was just really refreshing to talk with 3 people who are like, yeah, this is 100% what I want to be a part of and what I want to do. And it's becoming more and more about them and less about me. Like, the Real Movement Project as a group is making powerful decisions, and we're doing it together now, rather than it's sort of initially, I think it was me pushing it and trying to keep it alive. But now there's a lot of great coaches. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen some of the guys from the community. There's a lot of guys doing really powerful things and creating their own initiatives and inviting everyone else into it. I think it is a shared vision, and we want to have an impact on the food people eat. We want to have an impact on how people sort of look after themselves, and they look at self-care and health, how people train, how they treat each other, education systems. Like, we want to have a big impact, and it's early days. I feel like it's almost day one. We're sort of starting again, and I'm really, really excited for what we've got planned and what we're working towards. And I think that's a good life. Like, I'm happy with what we're doing. I'm not satisfied that it's enough. I'm always trying to find more. But the happy, never satisfied slogan is one that resonates with me. So while ever I'm striving towards that, while ever you've got something exciting to strive towards, I think you're alive and life is good.
Nice. And do you have any other quotes that you try and live your life by, or that you head to often?
Heaps.
Do you
it's
have
one of the things
downtime?
with the Real Movement targets that you have to memorize quotes from cool people throughout history. But do what's good and beautiful is one from Socrates. It's accredited to him. I think that's a really good one. It's super simple, but it's like, is that good and beautiful? If it's yes, then do it. If it's no, then don't do it. I think if life was lived a little bit more by that compass, then the world would be a much better place. And same in your training, like, try and do it well and do it so it looks good as well. Like, don't just get it done, but do it nicely. Do it so that you're proud of the way it looks. So we try and carry that over. Yeah, I think there's a massive crossover between how you live life and how you train, and like, those two things are really, really tightly linked for me. Like, are you taking on new challenges? We had heaps of guys do their first attempt at back somersault, and they did their first back somersault at the Noosa Intensive, and we went like progression. Okay, now go. And guys just went around, and we didn't have any injuries, but we had a bunch of guys do their first back somersault, and I remember what it was like for me, that day, and you get a massive adrenaline dump. But ultimately, life is good when you realize, like, oh, I'm capable of more than what I thought I was. So I love helping people to explore that, experience that, and I think I benefit as a coach and as a human when I encourage and facilitate those experiences for people.
Nice. Just going back to your nasal breathing, you've done Wim Hof method. Are you some sort of accredited, or you just experienced in it?
It was going to be accreditation, the one that I went to, but then it didn't turn out to be. So I've done, done a couple of things with him, but I'm not qualified.
No. What's it like being in his presence? You see him on Joe Rogan and on Tim Ferriss. He's all over the show, but
yeah,
how is it like? And for you, what is going deep into that process? What does it do for you?
Yeah, he's a special human. Like he's again like a guy he's had some painful experiences, and he's using that as a basis to be completely free and to make change. I don't think I've been around another human who's been more free. I think is the best way to describe him is free. I think we're all so shackled by trying to do things right, and different norms and different expectations, and we're trying to live up to something for everybody. And he's just doing his thing with his whole heart. So yeah, that's makes him a special guy. There's a lot of levels within it, the breathing, the cold, and then just Wim himself. For me, it's like I wanted to experience something around otherworldly consciousness. Like I've read a lot into near-death experiences and stories about sort of out-of-body experiences, and that stuff really interests me. Like reading the old sort of texts in the different religious texts is one thing, and then sort of modern accounts and DMT experiences as well. Spirit Molecule is a good book if you're interested in this stuff, but at some stage you want to experience it. Like I don't know if you're a fan of Graham Hancock as well. Maybe you've come across him through the Joe Rogan stuff, but like all this stuff sort of says that there's this other level of consciousness, and there's good things that happen when you go there, but it's one thing to read about it in books, and it's another thing to actually go there, So I think that the breathing is a window to like at least a very deep sort of meditative state and losing track of time and space, and sense of where your body ends and where the environment starts, kind of thing. Like there's a lot of those kind of sensations just with the breathing when you get into it, especially if you're in a group environment. But then there's some more stuff. If you look back through Kelly Slater's account, you'll see a time when he was working with Wim Hof. And did you see that one?
No.
So he was doing the Wim Hof, and then there's another kind of technique that's a bit you're not meant to talk about it, but Kelly Slater. There's a video of Kelly Slater like nose diving while doing sort of the DMT Wim Hof technique, and within that there's another level of experiences for some people. Some people just black out, but for me, it's sort of you're in another time and place, and sort of clear visions and strong emotions, and I think that's what I love most about the Wim Hof stuff. It's also a powerful immune booster, and there's a lot of research there, and it's a powerful therapeutic tool that's been validated by a number of different hospitals now, pushing blood pH outside of what's accepted as the medically possible range. So the yogis knew something that modern science didn't know. Surprise, surprise. Oxygen saturation above what Western medicine acknowledges as possible. Again, surprise, surprise. Yeah, they knew a lot of stuff before that we don't know now. Like society doesn't know it. At least even if Wim Hof is, if they're proving it, through medical research, but no one's really following that medical research. It's not really hitting, where it needs to go. So I think it's worth looking back, and I think people probably knew a lot more about a lot more things, a lot further back than what we acknowledge now. And I think, reconnecting with indigenous wisdom is probably one of the biggest things that needs to happen for humanity to advance. And, we get brainwashed into thinking that indigenous cultures are primitive cultures, but I think that they actually have a lot more to teach the dominant sort of Western culture, which is, taking over the world and homogenizing the world into sort of one language and one thought. So much to learn from traditional cultures, and I think that's kind of what Wim's getting at with bringing sort of yogic advanced sort of yogic techniques to a mass market.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that we're quite lucky with in New Zealand. I'm from Invercargill, which people often joke is one of the widest parts of New Zealand, but even there we're privileged to acknowledge multiculture, to be involved in traditional things, traditional ways of preparing food, knowing how in that culture they're very orientated towards where they're from, the geographical aspects of where they're from, how their spirit leaves this country and goes back to this legend of a place, Hawaii, that their people come from. And it's like you say, it's a different way of thinking about it. Have you tried flotation? I managed to do that a couple of weeks ago, and that just purely being there by yourself with no seats, Joe Rogan reckons is almost as good as DMT. But I tried a couple of things while I was in there based on Wim Hof. Got really sort of hyperventilated, then held my breath and did experience some of these colours and I guess what would be described as a psychedelic experience. Have you tried the flotation pod?
Yeah, I'm a fan as well. I don't smoke marijuana before going in there like Joe.
No.
Probably, assists his journey a bit, but each to their own is probably my thoughts with that. But yeah, it's cool that you had some of those experiences, and yeah, I've had some deep experiences in there, and sometimes just awesome chill out. It's the sensation. Did you get a really funny sensation as you got out of the tank?
Yeah.
That feeling of like you just every part of your body weighs like 1,000 tons, and it's like everything that all your postural muscles and everything that's usually keeping you in place, it's all relaxed, and it's just the weirdest thing to get everything to switch back on and just be able to stand up again.
Yeah, in the first sort of half hour, I was just getting spasms all through different parts of my body. Like as I say, you're holding stuff, and I know with my girlfriend, she'll hold stuff in the back of her shoulders, and you'll just straight away go to the exact same point. And not only does it relax her tension, but it relaxes her emotionally. And it's the same with, they say about posture. If you could posture yourself, you'll feel so much more vibrant and great. And that was the other thing I felt walking out of there, aligned and upright and feeling so good was just awesome.
Yeah, cool. That's a good experiment. Glad you did it and enjoyed it.
Nice. Is there, just before we finish off, because I noticed it's getting dark there, and same here. I think we're on the same sort of sun line.
You're not too far off.
Is there anything more that you'd like to share with people before we sort of head off?
We are about to launch a platform which will help people who want to go through this stuff, whether it's handstands and juggling or the wellness practices or fat loss. The mission is to help anyone who wants to be helped. We want to give everybody at least the opportunity of living with this philosophy, which I believe is a superior one to the dominant philosophy of our time, which is sort of, as you become an adult, it's more self-harm and stop using your body physically, and put a bunch of junk in that is actually not that good for you, and spray it all around you and put it all over your house and whatever. There's a better way to do it, and we want to offer people that. So that's about to go to market. I don't know if Sonny's going to be involved with it. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but hopefully he'll be a part of the mission there. And definitely getting more facilities open. So, we don't have a real movement facility yet in New Zealand, but we're definitely planning to have one there in the next 6 to 12 months. And hopefully that will be the catalyst for a bunch of them. So places where people can go to engage in this whole thing in a community that's built around it. The mind, community, movement and wellness, all equally important and valued. So not just about getting a sweat, which we love as well, but we can do so much more. So I would love the opportunity to work with people who check this out, who realize that they've got more to give, and they want to be supported and educated along that pathway. You know, my life is about researching this stuff, implementing it, and packaging it up in a way that, you know, can help more people. So that's, you know, that's really my goal, and what I'm most excited about, what's coming next. But if it's not with dual movement, then just, you know, work it out for yourself. Get connected to another community that's doing what you want to do. And, you know, that's my biggest message to people is, like, you're capable of more. There's better there for you. There's an opportunity for you to make a difference in the world. And every decision you make is making a difference. Everybody's a leader. You know, every time you change, it impacts, you know, people around you, family, workmates, whoever it is, the people who work at the supermarket. Doesn't matter. Your decisions are making an impact on other people. So, you know, I encourage everybody just to have a look, just examine what's going on. There's quotes there around the examined life being a good life. And I think that's really all we can encourage people to do. You know, have a look at it, try some experiments, and if I'm talking shit, if none of this stuff works, then go back to what you were doing before. If it works, if life is actually getting better, then send me a message to say, hey, I tried some oil pulling, or, you know, I started doing sauna, or I've joined a real movement facility, or the online program, or whatever. I'm excited about doing that, and yeah, that's pretty much my take home message that I would like to share with whoever is committed enough to get this far through our podcast.
Yeah, mate. And I'll make sure that I link these in. But you personally, you're on Instagram, Real Movements on Instagram and Facebook, and a webpage. They're pretty straightforward addresses, aren't they? Keegan Smith and Real Movement.
I think people will find them. There's not that many Keegan Smith. There's a musician in the US, but yeah, it's Keegan_Smith, I think, on Instagram. Sometimes some of the stuff's a Real Movement, some it's a Real Movement project, but yeah, you'll find us if you want to. I'm sure there's not too much of a challenge there. So yeah, drop me a line if you check this out and you enjoyed it. Then send me a message. I like getting the little random messages to show that this stuff is getting out there. I know it does, you know, little by little, brick by brick. So, you know, for you guys as well, like, value what you do there. Put stuff out there that you think is going to take the world in the direction that you want it to go, and don't underestimate that. You know, you have an influence. It's much more powerful. What the average Joe is doing is much more important than it's ever been in history, because there's a lot more, you know, everyday Joes living their lives and sharing that than there are, you know, famous people now. The media's been democratized, and people are checking out your stuff. Collectively, the everyday Joe is having more of an influence than the superstar these days, because that's what people are getting exposed to through the democratization of media, through social media. So yeah, value your stuff, do good work, do what's good and beautiful. That's all. Just do that. That's all we're trying to do. And not everything I do is good and beautiful, but we're trying and examining it and working on it from there. You know, I think that's a good life. That's the best I'm able to come up with for now. If you've got something for me to make that better, then do that too. This is always being rehashed and rejigged and reworked. So yeah, this is the mission is to continue to learn it, not to arrive to a final philosophy that, you know, stagnate from.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Keegan, and we'll wrap that up there.
Thanks for having me on, bro.
Cheers, man. Thanks a lot.